You are basically scammed into believing that when you can't stick to your diet and you lose control around food, it's you who's the problem, not the approach. But nothing could be further from the truth. Hi, Camilla here. Before we dive into the podcast, just a quick note to personally invite you to come and check out my free training on how to finally end weight loss struggles, binge and emotional eating, and feeling like a failure once and for all. Over the years, my work has grown into a world-changing riot where we reframe how we see ourselves as a failure for trying to play the game of the diet culture. It's time to break free from being the good girl, the weight loss struggles, binge and emotional eating, impossible aesthetic ideals, negative body image, self-sabotaging patterns, never feeling good enough, and often feeling like a failure. It's time to create a new paradigm where we enjoy a diet-free, binge-free, stress-free, slower, and more intentional and joyful way of life while you feel good about yourself and your body along the way.
This is so true. I think that anyone that has struggles with food, body, and challenges with eating should have Camilla's program on prescription.
You know, after the first evening listening to Camilla's lectures, I understood why I was always failing my diets. It completely shocked me how accurately she could describe everything that I had been struggling with.
Check out the free training at camillasage.com. Now, let's go into the Diet Riot. Hi, it's Camilla, and welcome to the Diet Riot podcast. This is a podcast where I am on a mission to help women escape from food struggles, the diet culture, and the hustle-focused society so they can finally be free to enjoy their bodies and their lives on their own terms. I'm so glad that you're here with me. Today, we're going to talk about how it's not your fault if you're struggling with yo-yo dieting, weight loss, stress, and binge and emotional eating. There is a villain in this story, but it's not you. And it's time for the dirty secrets to come out in the open. After working with hundreds of women in my career as a registered clinical dietitian, binge and emotional eating coach, health coach, and life coach, I've seen countless of women living a life in suffering and self-torture on the inside because of these struggles. It's literally the only prison that exists where the locks are on the inside. But it was never your struggles to begin with. I believe that as women, we deserve to know that we have been fooled by the diet culture and the systems because we have been buying into their non-sustainable fad diets and believing that we need to suffer with military precision and rigidity to reach our goals. We try to go after an external win without the whole solution, and we try to change our bodies to fit an external ideal. And when we are unable to suffer past the finish line and we quote-unquote fail, all we're left with is blaming ourselves and the belief that it must be me who's the problem. I'm such a failure. So instead of questioning the plan or the diet approach we tried, we put the blame on ourselves. And this again only creates a lot of stress, anxiety, overthinking and overanalyzing, worry and uncertainty, and of course fear of not making it and potentially as well hopelessness. And this is basically costing us our health, our internal wellness, our self-worth, our belief in ourselves, as well as our happiness and quality of life. But nothing could be further from the truth, because you were never meant to suffer. And as women, today we have higher unspoken expectations toward ourselves than ever. This makes you feel stuck, chronically stressed out, and never feeling like you're good enough or on top of things. And here's the crux of the problem. The whole system is designed to keep you responsible for your inability to be the perfect superhuman. Our society values productivity, busyness, achievement, aesthetic beauty, and youthful standards. And so many women have merged their sense of self-worth with how they look and how much they can get things done. And if you stop to rest, you feel lazy, unproductive, and really shitty about yourself. And we keep on pushing ourselves, always saying yes, keep on stressing, getting things done, and nearly erase ourselves and our own needs for the sake of productivity and external things we need to tick on in the box. And we have a hard time doing nothing and taking space for rest. So it's no wonder that after years of rigid dieting, followed by feeling like a failure when we aren't able to keep up and reach our goals, and also having our sense of self-worth merged with being useful and productive, then food turns into the perfect escape, because then you get to sit down for a brief moment and relax, but you're still doing something. You're eating. And the villains here are actually more than one. It's many. We have the patriarchy, aka you thinking and being the good girl. We have societal's aesthetic ideals, and we have the diet culture. And yet, we as women are paying the price with our overall health, our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. So if you are feeling exhausted, if you are tough on yourself, if you constantly are feeling like you're dissatisfied with how you look, if you're self-loathing and shaming yourself for having a bad day, and if you feel that you constantly have to achieve more, push yourself harder, get your shit together, and finally lose that weight, and so on, that's actually not you. This is patriarchy and diet culture in action. You might have a lot of skepticism and resistance in you about how what I'm all about can be any different from the rest of the approaches out there, making grand promises about dieting, weight loss, and so on. And I get it. And this is actually completely normal. Because what lies behind this skepticism and resistance is actually fear. Fear of getting it confirmed, like you being the failure again. And this is also why another diet won't solve your problems with weight loss, struggles, chronic dieting, binge and emotional eating or overeating, chronic stress, and also burnout. These are only the symptoms of the deeper underlying issues that we have to address. So you are basically scammed into believing that when you can't stick to your diet and you lose control around food, it's you who's the problem, not the approach. But nothing could be further from the truth, because as I've mentioned, the problem is built into the system in three really important components. As I mentioned, we have patriarchy and being the good girl. We have the diet culture, which creates binge and emotional eating and overeating. And we have societal ideals and negative body image. And no one can be blamed. Not one single woman out there can be blamed for being stuck with these struggles, because we can't know what we don't know. I love the saying, it's hard to read a label when you're inside a bottle. And this is so true when it comes to the patriarchy and being the good girl, the social ideals of aesthetic standards, as well as the diet culture, because we believe what we are presented from the outside world. This is literally a global pandemic running through all layers in the society, and it's affecting so many women in all age groups that it's really, really heartbreaking. And it's time for us to create a change. It's time for us to reach a level of insight where we break free from not only these systems, but we're also able to break free from the struggles we're holding. And so we can pave the way for not only ourselves, but for our girlfriends, for our mother, for our daughters, for those who will come after us, because it's time for a diet riot. So if you are ready to finally see the dirty secrets that's been kept from you, keep on listening to the next episodes, because there I will go into depths in all of these three different elements of this scam, and you will learn things that you have never heard before and that will be crucial for you breaking free from these struggles once and for all. Thank you for listening today. I'm so grateful for you being here. If you'd like to explore more into these topics, then please hit subscribe. And if you love this podcast, leaving a review or a 5-star rating really helps other women finding it too. And if you know anyone that would benefit greatly from listening to this podcast, then please share it with them. You can find more information about ways to work with me and my free training in the show notes. Thanks for listening to The Diet Riot.